All right, we've been talking about nutrition for a little while on the show. So today is very special for multiple reasons. Other than just talking about nutrition and body positivity, which are things you know I love to do, we're welcoming a soft, wonderful, open soul to the table. And I'm so excited for her to be here. Everybody, welcome Samantha Barash. This is my round of applause.
Oh.
I don't know. I need a button. That's for you. That joke's for you. Everybody else has heard me say it like every single week. I need a button. One of you.
Amazing. Amazing.
Have so many amazing titles. The work that you do is beautiful, and I can't wait to dig into it and take a big old bite. But tell us all of your amazing titles because you have so many.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to be here. I am a dietitian. I'm a registered dietitian. I am also an intuitive eating counselor. I am the owner of Tap Into Nutrition, which is a nutrition private practice that specializes in intuitive eating and fat positive nutrition, and helping people have a healthier relationship with food. And I'm also the owner of the Practice Collective, which is a shared co working and space for mental health providers.
So many good things. And I realized I didn't introduce myself. For Sam's guests that are joining us, my name is Amanda Sweet. I am the Creative Fairy Godmother, and I help people get fly, make friends, and save the world through community. And I do that a couple of ways. One of the ways is through the Let's Glow show. We are on episode 50. Episode 50. Woo! I'm going to look up what that means, like what the number 5 means, what the number 50 means. I'll share that in the comments later because I'm all about that stuff. But episode 50, super excited to have you here. The Let's Glow show is one of the ways that I do that. Another way that I do that is through the Revamp, which is a quarterly clothing swap festival. But I have spent a lot of time online talking about being a plus size bodied person and leaning into that. I was also crowned the first ever Miss Voluptuous America. So I got to represent plus size women all over the globe and represent America, which was really, really cool. Not something I ever thought I would do, but the topic and the conversation around body positivity and body activism and self-expression is very important to me. So when I learned about what you do and we kind of got into it, we were talking about the Revamp, and I knew about the collective, which I want to briefly touch on too. But then we started talking about your nutrition, and I was like, I didn't even know that you did this. And then we went there, the tears came, the emotions bubbled up, because I don't think I've ever heard, maybe I just haven't talked to enough nutritionists, but I haven't heard enough nutritionists talking about intuitive eating, fat positive nutrition, fat positive eating, and I want to get into it because it's juicy in all the best ways, and some of the bad ways, which is why we probably haven't heard from other nutritionists in that way. But let's start with like your businesses and why you decided to open them up.
Yeah. Amazing. I could go far back. I'll give some context to maybe my journey in like coming to this space of nutrition. Yeah, I give the history that I was a high schooler and a girl in college who really wanted to know how to be skinny, to help others be skinny and maintain that for myself, and then also feel as though that is the most valuable thing that I could offer to the world. Like that's what I could specialize in, and that is what's going to make me a value in society as an adult. And I went through the schooling, which, it really reinforced all those very negative beliefs that I had about body size and what that meant. And I came into the field and was working as a dietitian for many years. And also going through my own journey of recovery and figuring out what is health, what does health mean for me, what does good nutrition advice look like, how can we help people with their nutrition, what's showing up, what are the barriers that makes it hard for us to actually take nutrition advice and make it applicable, and ultimately realize that so much of it comes back to the why versus like the facts and what is.
Oh,
And I had a really great opportunity at a place that I worked, a nonprofit that I worked at, where I had a really encouraging boss who supported me in helping to train the other dietitians there on what it meant to practice from a health at every size, intuitive eating lens, so that we could help our participants and our patients in finding a healthier relationship with food, and also just like having better nutrition in a way that wasn't shameful and actually inclusive and considered things other than just how their bodies responded to nutrition. Fast forward, I loved it. It became 2020. We all know what happened in 2020. I saw the opportunity to open a virtual private practice.
yeah.
It was like, let's just give this a shot. Can I do this on my own? I loved what I did, but I also was working with seniors that had really limited resources. And, we can talk about that later, but, intuitive eating requires a certain level of privilege. And being able to be in tune with our bodies, to honor our nutrition, comes with a lot of self awareness and opportunities to have a lot of access that not all settings have. And a lot of passion led me to start my practice and helped me to get it to the place of being able to leave my job. It got me to a place of growing a really beautiful and authentic community that I'm very proud of. And that is what led me to start my second business, which is the Practice Collective, where I can share space with other people who are doing the work like I am, while still having that community space for our clients, but also each other, so that we can continue to do this work long term and we don't get burned out as providers and as healers in the community.
Oh my goodness. Oh, so good. Okay, like we could talk about co-working for a long time because we're both in the co-working space to a degree.
We get
Um,
it.
I love that you've built the Practice Collective because there are a lot of therapists and counselors and mental health professionals at Bamboo
Yeah.
specifically, and I see how they're like constantly in a booth by themselves on the phone, right? They're constantly like alone, but with someone. They're just meeting to meeting, back to back,
Yeah.
and like I watch my members. I see, when people are engaging with other people, if they're taking their lunch breaks or they're taking breaks for water or whatever. And I'm seeing like the counselors and the therapists kind of just like go back to back for 8 hours and then leave, you know?
Yeah.
That's a whole thing that I see that I didn't even realize. So, why is it in your eyes important for your space to exist and spaces like yours?
Yeah. I opened this space because it's what I needed to. I wanted to continue doing this work. I felt myself burning out. I was sitting at home just doing session after session. It was lonely. And I didn't have, I wanted to do this on my own. I wanted to have my own practice, but I didn't have coworkers anymore. I didn't have community. I didn't have people that I could eat lunch with, that I could, look at each other and just sigh in between a session of like, oof, this is hard work that we're doing.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be in the office every day. Like
No.
I still want to get some days where we're working from home, but I felt this desire to have community that didn't just exist digitally. Like I didn't want to have to show up on social media so that I could connect with people who do what I do.
Mhm.
And getting coffee with people is great. And, having Zoom chats is lovely. But is that going to be sustainable for me long term? And that was the question that showed up for me, which led me to create this space. I think it adds another layer of the political climate
Mhm.
and the responsibility on providers of how we're showing up for our clients and the mental load of that and the lack of support that we receive to continue to do this work and the burdens that show up in making us feel responsible to continue to do it made me feel like there had to be places where we are forcing folks to slow down and check in with each other. Otherwise, I don't think it's a sustainable career.
That's fair. That's fair and that's real, and I love that you're doing something about it. You know,
Mhm.
I I see it, and I can only imagine what it would be like if you if they were doing that without a co-working space. And I also like I'm just curious about this. I see a lot of people who are very empathetic in
Yeah.
these spaces. Maybe some of us are in our providers that are watching, but maybe some of us aren't.
Yeah.
This is a very loaded question. So we can answer this partially in parts. We can dive into it, but like, how do you, other than human contact and getting a real coffee with someone and hugging your friend and hanging out and taking a break, how do you like release all of this? And as an empath in a position where I have to talk to a lot of people, like when I first started working at Bamboo, that was really hard. I was like, oh, everybody's not only coming to me with their bamboo problems, but also their life problems and
Yeah.
their business problems and their relationship problems. And I, as an empath and the leader of this organization, feel like I have to solve these problems. And then I go home with them and, you know, cry it out to my husband or whatever. I was like, this is not for me. So just some friendly advice for those of us that aren't trained professionals. And also with the political climate being what it is, every time we hop on social, every time you talk to someone, it's just this like heavy, ugh, any advice for us?
We can't do it alone, and we can't do it if we're burnt out and we're holding the burdens of the world on our own shoulders. Right? Like I believe in personal responsibility, right? And like we have to show up to like get through this. And if we're showing up all the time, it's it's not going to be effective for the greater good, right? So I hate to say boundaries because like boundaries is an annoying word, but like boundaries,
Yeah.
checking in with ourselves, like pausing. I
Mhm.
am a big believer in journaling and waking up earlier, taking that time to myself to really process how I'm feeling, how I'm going into the day,
Mhm.
limiting time on social media, being with people that feel good. Yeah. But gosh, I don't know if I know that answer fully.
It's okay. I don't think any of us do. I think we're all kind of like, you have to find your own way.
Mhm.
And the limiting social media thing was the topic of we talked about that quite a bit last week too.
Yeah.
And I found myself this weekend trying to limit myself from social media and then being like, what do I like to do? You know, I
Mm.
enjoy what and like feeling uncomfortable. I got this beautiful new couch and it's great and I love it. And I was sitting on it and I was like, I need to put the phone down. Like my husband keeps saying, like, he's like, just stop it. Just take it. Like, do when you're thinking about stop when you want to stop, right?
Mhm.
To your body, do the thing. But then when you stop and everything's quiet, because I'll have like TV playing, phone playing,
Yep.
a lot of like stimulation stops. I'm like, who am I? What do I like? What feels good? And if you're not in a practice of being uncomfortable like that, it can be really uncomfortable. Um, But also when you're like, you get a twitch of something, I was like, I want to sew something. And then follow the action, follow the thought, beautiful things happen. But it's a trust practice with yourself. And it's a practice that you gotta get comfortable with. And even on top of
1,000%.
that,
Yeah. Yeah. It's uncomfortable, right? So uncomfortable. But yeah, that's relatable. Even like silly things. I mean, I'll share this that I was journaling this morning and trying to, like, on that journey of what do I like,
yeah,
right? Or what do I want? Or what feels good for me? And this is so silly, but something that I wrote down was I want to buy new sheets for my bed.
get you new sheets. Yes.
Right? And it feels so silly, but it's something that I've been thinking about for months. I feel like my sheets are too warm. I feel like they like just maintain heat. I want new sheets.
Like high tech, heat releasing, cooling sheets. Why have you waited months? Out of curiosity, if you don't mind me asking.
Probably because I do this like mental thing where one, like decision paralysis of like, okay, well, what one do I buy? And like having to research it and look it up. Two, we live in an apartment right now and our this is valid. Our washing machine and dryer sometimes just like randomly ruin things. They just decide when they're going to ruin something. There's no consistency in it. So part of me is like, do I want to invest in that now when we live here?
Or wait, yeah.
But then again, it's like, who cares if they do get ruined?
Yeah, you'll enjoy them while you have them.
Yeah.
You know,
So
some of that is, we want to fight this like consumerism urge, right? But the other part is like your body and your intuition is asking for something, and sometimes, and I'm a person of extremes. I'm working on getting into like this like middle pendulum, but
sure.
like going from like you can't have any new things, like everything has to be secondhand, to I finally have my own money and everything I will get will be new and everything I want I will get. Um,
Mhm.
Finding myself somewhere in the middle where it's like if you've been thinking about it for months, Samantha, for months, do this for
No,
yourself.
no.
And you know what? If your washer dryer chews it up, like maybe we could just manifest it chewing up the old one or something. Like, what if
Well,
it chews it up, then you get another one, and or we turn it into something else, or turn it into like your new rags for the new house that you get eventually. And
real.
there's like something about that satisfaction of like even if it's only silly because you think it's silly. I
Mhm,
don't think buying new sheets is silly.
mhm.
How about that? Because I didn't learn until I was like in my 30s that I could do that, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, you're only supposed to have the sheets that you have and you got to cycle through them until they're broken. Like, no, no.
Well, I just found out that people have numerous sets of sheets.
It's also expensive. I will say,
It's
like,
so expensive.
good quality sheets are expensive. Ridiculous. Like,
Mhm,
if you want to get the pillowcases to go with them, like, I'm like, why? Why does it
mhm.
cost this much money? Um, but I feel like months is a long enough time to gift
Okay,
yourself.
okay. And it feels like a little luxury. It does. I'm like,
Why is it bad to have luxury?
yeah, no, it's great. Like, it feels like something so simple as that could and are there more things like that that we can be doing,
Right.
right? I don't know.
And
Maybe.
it's not something that you think about, but you are using it every day. It's not like, oh, this is just like, oh, I pull it out once in a while. It's my fancy fur coat and it gets worn once a year,
Yeah.
maybe. No, you're gonna use them every day, you
Mhm.
know? And I think this is like, I don't know. I'm working my way this way where it's like, what can I now like, the secondhand stuff and making it myself, like what can I do? But also like time, like, do you have the time to keep waiting. Like what else could you yearn for if you got yourself,
1,000%.
But you deserve to have new sheets. Why not? Like, I don't think it's silly, but I do understand where that's coming from. Like, I want to, what my mind is saying to say, like, the thought that it's silly is probably from an external voice, and like the things that I want, like to look, like I want to circle, I'm going to bring it back around to body positivity here. Like, me wanting to look a certain way is only weird it's weird because somebody else said it was weird. Like, I'm in a larger body. I got to look a certain way. I got to wear certain colors. I got to wear certain shapes, forms, whatever. And it only feels weird and odd because somebody else told me it was wrong. And so when we were talking before about like nutrition at all sizes, at my size, I didn't think that I was allowed to work with a nutritionist or a dietitian. I don't even know. But I want to, like, let's talk about that, because I feel like you know the answer why better than I do. But I was like, what? Nutritionist? Me? I don't think that's something for me.
Yeah, well, your first point of this idea of like who decided that my body wasn't okay with where it's at, that is a wonderful question. Did you know that it was actually more desirable to live in a larger body at one point?
In different countries? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's like wealth, right? Sign of wealth.
Yeah, you were well fed. You had access. Yeah. But like, why did that change? Colonialism, right? The ideal. Why did that shift, right? Who deems one thing to be better than the other? The society reinforces it. But even when we think about, what does it mean to be overweight? What does it mean to be obese? Who is creating these ideals? Makes us really curious, right? It makes us really curious and angry.
Right.
Because it's making us less able to get that access to say, I want to work with a dietitian or a nutritionist because we believe that we have to look a certain way to eat a certain way.
Or the goal is to look a certain way, like when I was working with a nutritionist for a little while, they're like, oh, trying to lose weight. Like that was always like, are you trying to lose weight? And I'm like, no, I'm trying to get healthy. Like the goal is to get healthy. And I don't know how to eat. That is like, I don't know what to shop for. I don't know what my body needs. I don't know. I learned very quickly that I know nothing about nutrition. I have no idea how to eat in a way that fuels my body. I know how to eat in a way that satisfies me temporarily. I know like what stores to go to, but when I started, my husband and I moved in together, his cousin called. I think I might have told the story before on the show, but his cousin called and was like, what you guys doing? And he was like, oh, Amanda's making dinner and I'm helping her. He's like, what are you eating? And I was making like a traditional Filipino dish called adobo, which is like stewed chicken and like vinegar, soy sauce. And it's delicious. And you eat it with bright rice. And he was like, what vegetable are you eating? And I was like, none. Like none. But also like I had like a flashback, like the That's So Raven, like, and I was like, wow, we've never eaten vegetables with this meal ever. And we had this meal like 3 to 4 times a week growing up. Right. And then I was thinking about all the other meals that we were having growing up. And it was also some form of chicken and rice. And on occasion, we would get like stews that had like veggies in it, but we didn't like those, Right?
Yeah.
I was like, we did not. I mean, we were on the survival meals. My parents had a household filled with 8 people, right? You know, 8
Yeah.
people, 2 incomes, 4 kids. Like they were making the quick, easy, affordable.
Yeah.
No,
Are,
no.
th- are those traditional foods, though, to your Filipino culture?
Some of them are, but there are a lot of Filipino recipes and cuisines that include a lot of vegetables. But looking back at it, it was like when when my mom would make them, it was like special. This is like, oh, this is what I want. She would make like beef, beef with peppers and stuff like that. And then we would be like, or like all the egg.
Mm.
And then they'd be like, fine, just eat ramen noodles. And we would just eat the ramen noodles,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? So it like was it just is interesting reflecting on that because
Mhm.
like, your family grew up eating vegetables as one of your sides. Majority of our time, we did not do that. So it wasn't until I was in my 20s that I was like, oh, like intuitively you know this,
Yeah.
but if you're in a practice, this is the meal that we make.
Yeah. But also, who came up with the idea that we have to have like a serving of vegetables on our plate like that?
No idea.
Why couldn't the stew serve it as the vegetable?
Right.
Why?
In my household now, they do.
Mhm.
I'm making broccoli cheddar soup. He's like, you're making vegetable soup. Because like every single vegetable will be in it. It'll
Yeah.
just be like the broccoli cheddar soup base, you
Sure.
know, like
Yeah.
the word for it. But it's like got
Yeah.
all the vegetables in it. I'm like, we're doing great.
Yeah.
you know, but
Mhm.
I feel like I don't know where my food practices came from. They just kind of, I think from, if I think back, my mom's scenario, it was all survival eating. Her parents' scenario, it was all survival eating. Like her parents specifically were in a third world country,
Mhm.
mountains, like it was like we cook what we have. We
Yeah.
go down to the city, we get what we can with the little money that we have. So it's all survival eating. And now I'm like, I'm not surviving anymore,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know?
But I mean, thinking of how much we carry trauma through food,
Oh my gosh.
right? So much trauma through food. Yeah. And I'd even be curious of like why maybe there's nothing explicit about those vegetables in that stew that is ew, gross, right?
Right.
Well, I'd be curious what else was going on for you guys to say that, or maybe what other people, friends, community, were maybe influencing this idea of calling those things
Yeah.
ew.
I can think of a very I I bumped into somebody that I went to elementary school with. And
Mhm.
I remembered her. I remember, like, this was in college. Like, we bumped into each other. She's like, we went to elementary school together. And I was like, yeah. She's like, I remember once for showing, this was the first thing she said to me after years and years and years of not seeing her. She's
Okay.
like, I still remember in first grade, we were doing show and tell, and you brought a yucky vegetable. It was like a traditional Filipino like dish for all of us to try. And it was so freaking gross. I'll remember that for the rest of my life. She's like, I don't know why I remember that, but that was like one thing I remember from elementary school. And it was like my experience with you. And I was like, what? Okay. And I was like, I didn't even have that memory like in there. But as like a 19-year-old, you're like trying to be cool, like, hey, what's up? Like, long time no see. And then we're like,
Mhm.
you traumatized. Your food was disgusting, like,
How shameful, even, right?
and I feel for her, like, that was an experience that she had that
Sure.
was memorable for her. Or maybe she felt forced to eat something she didn't want to eat, or whatever, scenario from that. But I'm sure if she remembers it to this day, there was conversations that happened that day and days after that with her, between the two of us and other
Mhm.
people, you know. I don't think that has anything to do with it, but it just, for whatever reason, that story flashed into my mind, you know. But there's a lot of stuff like that, like, especially talking to like other friends who are also plus size and have immigrant parents, where it's like there's a lot of like weird energy around food, traditional food, what you eat, what you cook, like what your house smells like, all of that stuff.
Yeah. Can I share an example?
Please.
When I was in college, I went through a period where I was reflecting on what my families ate or what my mom traditionally made. And I remember coming home and telling her that the stews that she was making, that had some component of chicken,
Mm-hmm.
some sort of like stewed sauce, and white rice, that she needed to, one, use brown rice instead of white rice, and that she had to add some sort of vegetable to it.
Mm.
The fact that my education didn't teach me enough to honor the health of what it's like for an immigrant to eat their traditional foods while living here
Yeah.
is, it's horrifying. The fact that I wasn't able to conceptualize that those stews, the base of it is what? A vegetable, right?
Right.
And for so many countries, like tomatoes, onions, garlic, like aromatics, those are the vegetables that we're used to eating.
Right.
It's not a side of broccoli. It's not a side of green beans. It's not a side salad. It's integrated into the meal.
Yeah.
But we're not taught that that's a way of eating vegetables. That's not a normal American way of eating vegetables. And
Steamed,
mhm.
seasoned, like.
But even when we think of rice, right?
Right.
My mom did it. She made some things with brown rice. Oh, my dad was so mad.
Oh, I'm sure.
Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't taste the same.
No, it's not the same thing.
And who says that we have to eat everything for a little bit of extra nutrition?
Right.
Who says? Because when you think about it, the difference between white rice and brown rice, fun fact, 1 gram of fiber.
Just eat like a fig. I don't know. Like.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're getting that fiber through that stew.
Right.
That's
Right.
the difference of the fiber.
Right.
Right? But this like Eurocentric model that we're trained with, it doesn't teach us the nuance to understand that.
Mm. It's just black and white.
It's so black and white.
Right. This is wrong.
And
This is the body. This is the wrong kind of body. And this might be there by eating right or wrong.
Yeah. And who is it helping get healthier? Right?
Yeah.
If it does help you, you're probably a white European male with a white male with European roots.
Right.
Right? What we're doing, yeah, that would support you. That would make you healthier. But if you're anything else, it's not motivating. It doesn't make you feel empowered. It doesn't
No.
make you feel like you can make changes that are nutritious and effective. It feels like you have to go to rice and chicken and broccoli and eat that every day if you're if you're trying to be healthy. And
Yeah.
that's what keeps me up at night, Amanda.
I don't blame you. I remember my mom's mom, my Lola, she started getting really bad dementia when she got older and really bad arthritis. She had all these like health problems, and the doctor put her on this really, really strict diet. And her diet was like chicken, broccoli, and like a mixed like pea, carrots, thing with like this much potato, and it was like we saran wrapped it and microwaved it. Like we microwaved it till like for 20 minutes. We were like defrosting it in the microwave, right? So we would make Lola's meal. Lola's meal would be like a chicken breast, whatever, saran wrapped, put in the microwave. We left it. We watched our TV show. Came back. We fed her that with like, what was it? It was like this like seasoning that didn't have any like negative things in it. I don't know. And like
Right.
a cup of Jello. And we were talking about this, and like, what if she was eating her traditional foods that she cooked for us the whole time we were growing up, right? Like, if we were making her fish and we were making her stews and we were making her like all of the things that she would make, like, would that have brought back some of her like memories or taste experiences? But like the latter part of her life, she was eating this like bland, I'm just gonna say it, bland white people food prescribed by this white guy doctor who said that this is gonna make her healthy when she was on the decline anyway. She was on the decline anyway. She was eating her food, and then she would take like 25 pills and then just sit on the couch. And she had like terrible paranoia, and I'm just like, she can eat the cake. And my mom would be like, no, she can't. The doctor, da, 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 da. She can't eat this. She can't eat that. We would make the food and she can smell it, I'm sure, but then she's eating this like plain piece of microwave chicken breast. But that's what the doctor said. Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
I mean, like we were doing what we were told what was the right thing to do, right? They're like, this is how she'll get healthier and live longer.
Of
But like
course.
talking about it now, and I'm like, did that help? Did that do anything other than like cause an extra like burden on my parents? To do something different for her every day. And then an extra burden on her to just eat this like bland, tasteless, flavorless, gummy chicken.
Mm-hmm.
No, but it came from the top down.
Of course. Of course. And that's what's so hard, right? Because as immigrant parents, you want to do what's best.
Right.
And you're in the society where you're told that this is what you have to do, not only for health, but as survival, right? Because we assimilate through food. It's easy to assimilate through food. And when we're living with so much trauma and history and like trying to do better for our parents and for our kids, we're going to listen to authority and do what they say to do, because that is what this society has led us to believe that we have to do for safety, right? Yeah. And that just gets me on like that whole other piece of like, who says that we only can access health through nutrition?
Say more.
Why is the definition of health always coming back to nutrition? Why aren't we thinking about mental health? Why aren't we thinking about community, connection? Your grandmother eating that cake, that would bring her joy,
Right.
potentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we know that joy improves our health.
Mm-hmm.
But we get so wrapped up from this medical side of things, this idea that we have to eat for health reasons, and health can be adjusted through our nutrition, which, yes, of course, that's true.
Sure.
But we have to look at the full picture.
Mm-hmm.
Mental health is health too. Eating this like perfect regimented way isn't actually healthy. It's not making you a better person.
Mm-hmm.
And having different aspects of health that contribute to our overall well-being is what's going to make us live more sustaining, successful, happier lives.
How do we, the people, that don't have experience with health, nutrition, and not exposed to, like, if we're not exposed to people around us, our peers, our parents, our siblings, like going to therapy or finding a coach or exercising or nutrition, any of those things, because I grew up, like, I love my family. They are amazing humans, but both of my parents are workaholics. It's very clear. Like, they work all the time. They
Sure.
work when they wake up. My dad has his office. He's there. He's working before work, working, then works after work. We grew up
Mhm.
with that. Like, he was a college professor and an engineer. So he's, up at 5 doing classwork, going to work, going to class till 9, great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and my mom worked like that too. It was just like endless hours in retail, so that was the life that I saw, was like, this is how you do this, you know, and we eat for survival. We eat when we have to eat. We have to eat because I haven't eaten anything yet today, right? My head hurts. I'm cranky. I'm tired. I need to eat something. And whatever
Mm.
it is, it's like something quick, you know? Um, so I didn't grow up in a household where it was like, we're doing activities, we're doing sports. Like when I started doing sports, my mom was like, you have to figure that out on your own. Like if you want to do the sports, you got to pay the pay to play. You got to get a job so you can pay for the pay to play so
Yeah.
you can play. You got to make your own lunch, you got to find your own ride, you got to walk home from school. So I was like at 15, I got my first job, my first real job. I was babysitting before that so I could pay, right? So babysitting, working a
Mhm.
job. I was a lifeguard. So I was working at 5 a.m. before school, went
Yeah.
to, went to sports, to my
Mhm.
8, then went to bed. So like that is like the example that was set, right?
Yeah.
Work till you can't anymore. Like what advice do you have for us? Because I'm sure I'm not the only one, where it's like we didn't have the example of mental health, physical health, nutritional health.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, where do we start? Compassion, compassion and curiosity. Like, I think there's so much that can be said of acknowledging even where we started today of you're allowed to eat better and take care of yourself even if your body doesn't change.
Mhm.
And sometimes we get so wrapped up in what's the perception of us having it figured out looks like that it doesn't allow us to do those little things because it feels like we're told in this society that it has to be all or nothing. You
Mhm.
know, we have to be doing everything. And that if it's not everything, it's not enough. Right?
It's not even worth it sometimes. It's like
Mhm.
if you can't do all of it, then like why even start?
Mhm.
That question plays through my head a lot. Like if I can't work out for a whole hour, then why work out?
Yeah.
Right?
And
Yeah, go ahead.
it's all rooted in shame though,
Yeah.
right? Because what if we were doing it from a place of like love and compassion and care? Because the philosophy of working ourselves to our death, right? What is that based in? Fear, scarcity, shame. Like, this is the way, this is the American way, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But really checking in with ourselves of like, what's going to be sustainable for me?
Yeah.
What can I do that really makes me feel good? And like I'm honoring my body and I'm checking in with its needs and I'm listening to my body and asking it what it wants and then honoring it in that moment and being curious. But if we do it from a place of shame or because we don't like ourselves or we're angry at ourselves or as punishment, we're not going to do it long term.
Right. It's all the wrong reasons. And that's why I took a little bit of a break from the nutritionist because I was like, I need this to get healthy.
Mm.
I've talked about this on the show, but I have had experience with extreme gout flare-ups, and it
Yeah.
was happening like monthly, like every month. And it was so shameful. For whatever reason, it felt like it was like, because whenever I would tell anyone, even now, like when I tell people, they're like, "Oh, isn't that like for like fat guys? Isn't that like
Mm.
or something like that?" Like, well, like my body doesn't break down uric acid at the same rate as your body does, and it causes joint flare-ups, but I'm not going to explain that, And then when you like for me it like I can't wear shoes. I don't go out like cuz I can't walk around. So then I, hunker down. I'm stuck in the house. I'm used to being like all the time, right? So then I'm like, "Oh, now I'm immobile."
Yeah,
Partially immobile, right? And this huge shame cycle, like, it's because of the way I eat, it's because of my weight, it's because of this, and now I can't do what I need to do, and that makes me worthless. And I go into this huge spiral,
of course.
and like I hate that that happens. And working with the nutritionist, she was great, but it just was like it just felt like it was constantly about like how do we get the weight down, the flares down, you know, and it just didn't feel I was tired. I was tired of cooking. I got tired of you know, doing all of the things and still having the flare-ups,
Of
you know?
course. Of course. It's counterintuitive to constantly be focusing on weight loss and medical conditions. And I will, it, a little taboo, but I will preach it from the rooftops.
Yeah.
And I'm really explicit when I talk to potential clients about this too, of like, we don't know how your body is going to respond. We might lose weight, we
Mhm.
might not. But when we continue to do what we call medical nutrition therapy, so having interventions that are going to improve whatever medical condition is showing up, while also forcing this idea of restriction, because when we say weight loss, we mean restriction, right? Continuing to do those at the same time, they're always going to be clashing with each other. Because even if the weight loss works initially, it's giving into this idea that your body's not meant to be at the size that it is.
Mm,
And no one knows that until you're eating in a way that feels good. Because
mm,
when you're eating in a way that feels good and you're nourishing your body and you're moving in a way that feels sustainable, your body's going to land in the body it wants to be in.
mm.
And that's going to be the healthiest body for you, for anyone. But to consistently go back to this idea that we're supposed to live in a small body, it we're causing harm, right? We're causing harm. Who said that that's a better body? Full circle, right? All the way
Right.
back to the beginning. Who said that that's a better body? Yeah.
It's so like I feel like we're not even scratching the surface. Like I know that we can go way, way, way deeper and talk so much more about all of this craziness because it's just like it definitely you had mentioned it earlier. You were like, who said that you have like the right or wrong body? And like at one point, this body was the norm and this, but then when I go into certain communities and different areas, like if I work in Royal Oak. In Royal Oak, I feel out of place because everybody that is white is thin in Royal Oak. Like that is just like the social norm there. And I stand out when I'm there. And my parents are like, they're like, you are like, I don't understand why like you always feel weird over there. You always say you feel weird over there. And I'm like, I don't know how to explain why I feel weird over there, but I feel weird over there. But when I go somewhere else with other cultures, with a little bit more diverse people, I feel less weird. I feel like less like oddball. Like I'm not the only person with a body that looks like this. Like I'm not the only person with a body that's different. And so like it's it who said and maybe at one point, but like in even just like location, like different bodies are valued in different places. And I feel more comfortable around more cultures and more people. And I just feel like less out of place. I don't know. It's
It's
weird.
real.
Yeah.
It's real. It's so, so, so real. It's so real. BMI was created for a white Eurocentric male. So unless you were that,
No.
yeah.
No, none of those things. So, yeah, we could definitely go. Like, I feel like we just started. I feel like we're like still in the intro. So, we're going to have to do a part two because we're already at an hour. I'm like, we need to like come back, deep dive, like get into it because I feel like there's a lot more to say, but we'll do a part two. We'll just schedule a part two. And you guys will have to come back because, and you'll have to go talk to Sam because I'm ready. I'm ready to find I'm ready to find a you in my life. I said, the last time we talked, I'm ready to find you. I'm glad that we met because I have not found a doctor, a healthcare provider, a service provider that talks about the social political aspects that come with the body that I have. It's like, you need to lose 100 pounds. That's what my doctor told me. That's how I can get rid of gout. You need to lose 100 pounds. How do I do that? I have no idea how to do that. My OBG, if you just lost weight, you would get pregnant. And because you're overweight, that's why you lost the baby, right? These are the things, these are the conversations that I'm having with my healthcare providers. And I'm not alone. I know I'm not alone. I'm just I'm just a number, and this is their philosophy, and this is what they say to everybody. And they've been saying this to me since I was 7 years old that I was obese, right? But I look back at pictures of 7-year-old me, and I'm like, you just look like a normal kid. You know, and I was like, when I got crowned Miss Voluptuous America, they asked for like childhood pictures, and I'm going through my childhood pictures, and I'm like, I was not a little fat kid, and there's nothing wrong with a little fat kid, but like, I was told that I was morbidly obese at 7 for the rest of my life, and I'm looking at pictures of me at 7. I'm like, you just look like a normal kid. Look at me as a teenager. I'm like, I look like a normal. Maybe standing next to another teenager, I might look a little bit larger and be a little bit more full. But like, I feel like I was brainwashed into thinking I was something else, you know, like there's nothing wrong with me. And that I was morbidly obese and I would be dying at the age of 25 because of my weight. Like, that was the energy. I'm like, what is wrong? Like, I'm looking at these pictures. I'm like, I'm just a kid. I was just a kid, you know?
What year was that? Do you remember?
What year was when I was 7? 1997. I was 7. Born in 1990.
We'll have to continue this another time. But in 1998, they lowered the range of what was considered overweight or obese. And they didn't tell anyone.
Ooh.
Why?
I get this shit. I'm like, interesting.
Just made me curious at that time period.
Yeah.
But really just coming back to focus on the way that this country continues to show up in telling us that we need to be healthy in certain ideals, but isn't actually giving us the tools or the resources to live healthier lives, right? And even doing it in ways like that, right? Poor little 8-year-old Amanda.
I know. Like, she was just a cool kid. Like, why she spent so much of her time worried about her weight at such an early age? Like, what is the, and I know that I have a privilege in the fact that I have the mental strength to work myself out of that mentality. And there's a lot of women in my social circle that have not been able to do that, And so, like, I understand that that is also, people are like, oh, you're just so comfortable in your body. I'm like, it's taking a lot of work, to get there. Because since 7, I've been told, you're in the wrong one. You're doing it wrong. I'm like, I don't know how to get a new one. Like, this is the one I got. Like, this is what we're working with. Okay. But yeah, there's so much more. I feel like we have like teed the stage, just teed it up So we do have to close, but I have two more questions.
Yeah.
If someone wants to get a hold of you, learn more about the work that you do, dive into all of the things that you do, whether it's the space or your nutrition work, how can they find you?
Great question. Thanks for asking. You can find us on Instagram. Tap Into Nutrition is our Instagram for our nutrition practice. You can find us on Instagram for the Practice Collective at practice.collective. We also we got our websites, tapintonutrition.net. We are going to be starting a group coaching cohort
Ooh,
March 12th. So that's a 6-week program. And we also just are constantly accepting one-on-one clients. Anyone's a mental health provider or in the wellness space and they want to come check out the Practice Collective, send me a message. Would love to offer a tour, bring someone along.
I want to go do a tour.
Come on.
Okay, go.
I love that.
Love that. Oh, thank you so much. Okay, my last question is, what is there like? What little nugget do you want to leave with us before?
Oh gosh. Oof. How can we lead our bodies with a little bit more compassion? Accepting that maybe there is nothing wrong with them.
Hmm.
Keep it short and sweet.
Short and sweet, like I like it. Thank you so much, Samantha. This has been like, this is our second like long conversation, and I'm like, okay, well, we need like a million more of these because we're just like every single time we're just scratching like one little tiny layer, and there's so much more there, and your brain is so big and beautiful, and I know there's a lot of good juicy stuff in there, and I'm just like, give me, like, please let it all out. I am excited to know you. I'm excited to be in your sphere. I am excited to learn from you. I'm gonna do one or the other because I need this. I find myself more and more lately. I'm just like touching my body in a way that's like out of it's old behaviors. It's like, why do I look? I'm bringing the critique back for whatever reason, and my body's changing. I'm getting older. My body's looking different than it was when I was in my 20s, and that's not a bad thing. It's just looking like my 30-something-year-old self. It's looking like my 35-year-old self, not my 25-year-old self. So I feel like I'm going through this like I'm going through this wave, and I'm like looking at it critically when I could be looking at it compassionately and asking my body like, what do you need? What do you want? What do you desire? And answer those questions. So I said to you last time, I feel like this is divine timing where we connected. I'm sure that we've been in spaces together before, but I feel like send me the link to the cohort. That's what I need to say.
We got to keep these conversations moving.
Yes. And we need to keep talking about like the shame, and the shame is someone else's and the guilt is someone else. Well, there's so many things that we need to be talking about. And I'm glad that you are talking about them, especially from a place of education with resources and examples to back it up, because I'm over here like, I just know this. I just know it's messed up. I feel that it's messed up, but you're like, well, here's why.
But also, that's a beautiful sign that you're in tune with your body, right? You're in tune with your body, and it's so cool to think of like where that could also still go,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So many cool places. I appreciate you so much. And thank you all for joining us today. Again, every single week we talk to creative entrepreneurs about their journey, their path, and their glow up. If you are interested in hanging out with us at the revamp, we are looking for brand ambassadors. So if you're looking for a community of people who like to create content, like to style, and love to do community service, this might be the perfect program for you. I will drop the link below. We're accepting applications through March 1st. And then the next swap is April 26th. So we will see you there. Mark your calendars. Again, thank you all so much. Samantha, thank you for being here. This is going to be the first of many. I feel it. Happy episode 50.
Can't wait. Congratulations.
Thank you. All right, y'all. Have an amazing week. Stay magical, and we will see you next week. Bye.